You're kidding me. We don't get the little jingle when we load the game. We've had that happen for us in absolutely every other Metroid, 2D and 3D alike. And also annoying, we have to go out of our way to enter the ship again, instead of the game giving us a choice to stay in our ship and fly somewhere else if we happen to have saved in it. I know, those aren't big things, but they still annoy me. Nothing from here really says which of the two landing zones is more worth entering at the moment. It's essentially a coin toss based on what we know right now. Lava waterfalls, or I suppose fuel gel waterfalls. I suppose that's nice to look at, but isn't it a little early in the game to see something like that? And apparently we found Rundus's ship. No surprise that his ship has a nice theme, considering pretty much every ship Samus has had looks like her helmet, with the only exception being the ship from Fusion, when Samus had to get a fresh one in a hurry to replace the one she lost in the prologue. Is it going to be in any way important that the Hive has been abandoned? Considering how the areas on this planet have been set up, I'm not too sure this game has especially good level design compared to the other two Metroid games. Wait, why are the engines still warm when that ship clearly has a nice theme going on? Excuse me for not being a fan of the idea that the fuel source is dangerous enough for us to wander into, considering the sort of stuff our suit can handle. Granted, it would be pretty stupid to drop into the stuff since we don't have the gravity suit and we could possibly sink like a rock, and the power beam is very likely to start a fire in there, but still. I'm sure those Sinisties are all interesting, but again, the entire civilization is gone, with just some constantly hostile guys with teleporters and electric weapons as remains of those people. At least with the Luminoth, there were people who were still part of the civilization as we wandered through the ruins, even if we never really saw any of them, and we saw the occasional statue for this or that hero of the conflict against the Ing, which we were currently a part of. The guy only had time to hit us once, when we've got 3 energy tanks and a single hit from him did only 7 points of damage. Again, I'm a little baffled by how this game is handling the difficulty curve as we keep moving forward. Is there anyone to actually gather the fuel gel that these machines are prepping? Are the pirates using it as a major fueling world? Nope, wait, no, they've been doing everything they can to shift to using Phazon for everything. And before that, the pirates put most of their hopes in Metroids being their ultimate weapon slash fuel source slash whatever. It's kind of amazing that they've been such a major threat in this franchise for so long, after the sheer amount of ass-kicking they've been taking. Okay, so there's no way to grab onto that thing from down here. We have to find a way up there to use our grapple on that grapple point. Just how long has this civilization been gone if all their gear works perfectly when we get to them? Hell, why am I even bothered by that now, considering all the other ruins we've run through over the course of this franchise? In fact, it's a standard thing for all stories that involve ruins, regardless of if it's a video game or not. Everything is always in a pretty good condition when the hero runs around in it. Again, I'm just not feeling the whole let small creatures latch onto us to float up thing for some reason in these morph ball sections. And it looks like we've gained another easy upgrade. Granted, all the Metroid games have some gimmies and easy ones scattered around, but somehow in this one it just feels easier than the other Metroid Prime games. Not entirely sure why. Okay, so we've got some ice sealing things off, which means we're probably gonna have to come back here when we have a heat-based weapon, or at least more heat-based than the power beam and missiles. Kind of amazing how few obstacles we've been running into that require us to have an upgrade we don't have yet. Granted, I was annoyed in pretty much every Metroid game for a while because we kept running into impassable things we didn't have the keys for yet, but hey, it was something to look forward to. But we haven't been running into any super missile doors or other obstacles that we don't have the means to get around all that often in this game, because it just feels far more linear. Another obstacle that we can only get through if we use hyper mode. They certainly keep things spread out. Okay, what scripted bit of bullshit is this? Samus is certainly acting like it's unpleasant. And now we're just spraying fire for the sake of spending energy.
Samus, we just received very abnormal readings from your life support systems. Are you okay?
Oh, it's nothing major, just our first step of our eventual corruption due to the phazon that's being generated in our body. Mostly caused by us using the hyper mode you guys installed onto our suit. In story terms, that kind of makes it less tempting to use hyper mode in general, but it only flares up when the script demands it to. We could use that stuff in every battle and it wouldn't speed us along to possible death unless I choose not to spend all the energy when our suit is giving us an overload warning. As a side note, I kind of like how Phazon heals us in this game when we dive into a pool of it, when the previous two games it was absolutely dangerous to us. It's a nice, unspoken sign that technology is marching onwards in this universe, and people are getting more used to this dangerous substance. It's kind of a shame that this game is going to be the last time we see Phazon in general, assuming, of course, it doesn't somehow come back for Metroid Prime 4. Anyway, we apparently just saw Rundus there, and for some reason he didn't say a word to us as he walked away. I'm sure that has nothing to do with the scripted bit of us having some Phazon trouble just moments ago. Again, I should probably just get a move on instead of scanning absolutely everything in the room. It's not like checking what's going on with the pipes is actually teaching us anything. I'm basically just scanning everything we can because I like the sound effect as we scan things, not because I'm curious about what we're looking at. Okay, so apparently we've got something to fight against at the moment. Apparently a fresh kind of enemy that teleports around for some reason. Vulnerable to cold-based attacks, but we don't have the ice beam or whatever other means we're supposed to have to freeze something. This would be a nice time for Rundus to help us, but unfortunately he left the room before this fight even started. Okay, we're taking a decent amount of damage here, but it feels pretty easy for us to avoid getting all that hurt. I'm certainly appreciating the ability to shoot all the barely mobile enemies without locking onto them. Makes it easy to switch targets when one of them teleports away. I'm a little confused why an enemy that teleports around isn't a lot more mobile. If anything, I'm more worried about these things being damage sponges than the fact that they teleport around and make us lose track of which one we're shooting at that particular moment. Well, that was easy enough to handle. May as well check the lore before we check the device. Okay, so when things started going bad, it started at a small scale and slowly got more and more massive. That kind of sums up a lot of massive conflicts in a lot of different universes, I'm sorry to say. No surprise that alien races that wanted to say don't go to war weren't listened to. This was a civil war, an internal conflict between people within the same civilization because people just stopped feeling like they could live alongside these other people who had differing sets of priorities. Okay, guess we're going to have to do more to raise that platform up level by level. Not really a puzzle, but I suppose it's a good way to keep us busy in this room for a while. Looks like some bugs showed up when we got that platform moving as well. Not much of a slowdown, but still something to worry about as we keep making the platform climb up level by level. That takes care of the swarm for now, but I'm sure we'll have more to worry about soon enough. Okay, so we're actually pumping things in order to get the pumps working. Should I consider that clever? Because somehow I find it more interesting to blast the geysers in the wall than shoving my hand back and forth to get something to happen in the game. Okay, that looks like everything on this side is nice and set up. And now to roll over to the other side in Morph Ball mode. Part of me wants to find it a bit annoying that we have to do charge shots to activate the things we're supposed to activate in Morph Ball mode. The other just remembers all the arbitrary stuff we've done in all the other Metroid games to get things activated as we move from point to point. It certainly makes more in-universe sense than the acid-draining machinery in the 3DS Metroid game, where each device only let us move forward if we killed just the right number of Metroids in a previous area. Okay, so we've got a new kind of enemy bug, and the way to handle them is to grapple beam. Considering how long we've had the grapple beam and been able to rip the tails off of these things, there's not much reason why we didn't run into these sorts of things earlier on. Seriously, there doesn't seem to be much of an ascending order of enemies, with them getting stronger as we keep moving forward. But then we are still pretty early in the game at this point. Kind of wish I felt more interested in the massive number of explosions we just sparked off. I know that opened the way further onwards, but it just felt oddly mundane to me, partly because of all the obscene stuff we've done in the other Metroid games, and partly because the opening of this game tried too hard to make things seem epic right from the start. Great. Now I kind of wish we could scan the things that are constantly patrolling the morph ball paths. I'm sure we will in a bit, though. It's probably gonna be a bad idea to roll right into the fire like that. Not too big of an issue. Looks like there's something we can shake loose over our heads. Definitely feels like this sector is supposed to be the lava level of the game, which is odd because I'm used to lava worlds in games to either be the ending or at least somewhere in the middle section. Not somewhere near the start. I know we're only 7 clips in so far, but it still feels pretty damn early, especially considering how many clips the other Metroid Prime games generally had me have to make, and I did a lot of fast forwarding through those games. With the level design of this game, though, I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to feel tempted to fast forward much if at all around here. And I'm not sure if that's something that makes this game in some ways better than the previous Metroid Primes, or if it's another thing that'll get on my nerves. We'll see how I feel when we get around 20 clips into this one. Why did the game feel the need to tell us a tutorial message how to grab onto ledges if scanning it we'd get the same information that we only needed to jump onto it to climb up? I'm really getting the odd feeling that this game is being treated like it should be considered a first entry into the franchise for a good number of people. Granted, every Metroid game is treated like it could be someone's first entry into it, but considering the Metroid Prime series numbers things explicitly, it feels a bit more ridiculous to assume someone is going to enter the series in Game 3, skipping over 1 and 2. Especially since the Metroid Prime games are explicitly a trilogy. One leads to the events of the next, which then leads to the events of the next. They are very well tied together. This isn't like Final Fantasy where they make a new world with a new cast with every game, so there's no need to know anything that came before as you get the next entry. Sounds like we've got a save point nearby. Seems like as good a place as any to call it a day for now.